Hello there and good morning. So, how many people trafficking gangs has our new Labour government smashed since getting into power? Well, judging by the silence of the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper, 0 would be my guess. In fact, according to the press, we are opening 2 more hotels have been opened since Labour came in. They're not shutting them down. And this is due to a 12% increase in boat arrivals, now standing at 30,000 up to this point of the year. The numbers are increasing. So much for Starmer saying he would start stopping everything on day 1. And RAF Wethersfield is being extended. Yes, extended for use as an asylum seeker camp. It's being extended from 540 beds to 800. So that'll take half a day's landings then. A mere drop in the ocean. And this is not incompetence. It's all by design and policy. And we're going to have more tax, borrow and spend in order to afford it all. And that all goes into the pockets of the people smugglers. And into the pockets of contractors. So it goes illegally into the people smugglers' pockets and legally into the pockets of contractors. For example, former caravan park and disco tycoon Graham King is set to become the first person to become a billionaire on the basis of housing migrants. But who's paying? The migrants or the taxpayer? Unlike when he was running his previous businesses, that was punters paying into his coffers. Now it's all of us, via the Treasury. And you know none of this is stopping. There's contracts all over the place for hotels and stuff, and his contract is set to continue until 2029. Here's what the Mail said. Clear Springs Ready Homes, which houses migrants in hotels, unused military barracks and flats, had an increase... Let's start that one again. My tongue's getting all twisted up. Clear Springs Ready Homes, which houses migrants in hotels, unused military barracks and flats, had an income increase of 400 million in just 12 months. Just 12 months. Now, if that was anyone else like the oil industry, that would attract a nice little windfall tax, wouldn't it? Now, the Labour government claims it is speeding up the asylum process to save 7 billion quid. But we'll end up spending more than that elsewhere, like on allocating housing. While Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer pledged to fast-track people smugglers through the courts, like they did the so-called far-right rioters. Oh yes, that's what they're saying. They're going to spend loads of money, get them all in front of the judges, and the judges will quickly get them through. Well, I think that relies on the people smugglers instantly saying that they are guilty, admitting their guilt. Do you think they're going to do that with all the money they've got and all the help from all those lawyers, all those human rights lawyers? And I wonder if the courts will be playing ball. And you can bet your little cotton socks that the human rights lawyers won't be playing ball. They'll be getting them off left, right and Chelsea. And Starmer is due to tell the General Assembly of Interpol in Glasgow today, the world needs to wake up to the severity of this challenge. I was elected to deliver security for the British people, and strong borders are a part of that. And he goes on, but security doesn't stop at our borders. There's nothing progressive about turning a blind eye as men, women and children die in the Channel. Now, we've heard all this before. We've heard it all before. The Tories said just about the same sort of thing when they were in power, but in different terms. They just didn't use the word progressive. But nothing will change, especially as lawyers like Starmer have been hell-bent on keeping this industry flourishing for years, for decades. They want it to continue. Contracts, as I said, are in place across the board for years to cater for this policy. The establishment wants it to continue. They want open borders. They want to say all are welcome. And no need to bring your own dosh, because it'll all be there for you. And now, during the Tory leadership race, lefty commentators said that they, the Tories, needed to move their party to the centre ground in order to win the next election, i.e. claiming that voters want this constant inward flow. That's what they meant. The Tories must argue from the same platform that Labour's arguing for in order to win, because that's how Labour won. Yeah, no, they won because everyone else stayed at home. And I disagree. I don't think staying on the centre ground will work anymore. The centre ground is shifting to the right. The Overton window is shifting to the right. People want this sorted, and they want to stop this large inward flow of people. And I think at the next election, Labour will be finished. I really do. They'll just continue all this on and on and on, just saying a few words to keep the far right happy or whatever it is that they want to do. But in the end, I think they'll be finished. Anyway, before I bring Richard in, excuse me, has Starmer stripped Dawn Butler of the Labour Party whip for what she retweeted about Kemi Badenoch? Not as far as I can see. Hello, Richard.
Hello. Yes. Oh, hello there. Yes, just wondering. Yes, we'd like to buy a hotel. Yes, Jeff and I'd like to buy a hotel. How many people can you get in a room? Oh, you can get at least another 4 people in there. Oh, sorry. Hi, Jeff. Yes. Anyway,
you're letting the cat out the bag, Richard. You're letting the cat out the bag.
Well, I am. I have been thinking about crossing the channel myself because I need to see a dentist.
All right.
And that seems to be not something that's quite easy to do these days, finding an NHS dentist. And yeah, never mind. Yes, I mean, look, with regards to Labour's position on stopping the boats filled with doctors and nurses, I would say, that it's time we stopped listening to these people, but nobody is listening to them, except possibly James O'Brien. Nobody else believes them, nor the Tories. We don't have faith in any of them. Quick point on the Tories, actually. Kemi Badenoch might be a good appointment as Tory leader, seeing as she will delineate clear water between Reform and the Tories, which is good for Reform. And also, Kemi Badenoch, however you pronounce it, will tear Keir Starmer to shreds in the House of Commons at the dispatch box. Absolutely tear him to shreds. Her political positioning may be a load of BS, but she is quick-witted and is one of the very few strong political debaters in Westminster. But, and I repeat, but we have to reframe the whole thing for what it actually is. And that is a piece of theatre where the Uni Party basically are just debating against themselves, just in a different format. They pretend to have ideological differences. Badenoch campaigned for more people to enter Britain legally, and that must not be forgotten. The only question remaining is how much a part of the establishment and Uni Party is Reform after its leadership strongly distanced itself from ordinary working people in Britain. Are we left with anyone that at all for opposition? Or, I mean, look, it's very difficult. We've got UKIP. I keep going on about UKIP, but are they electable? Are we splitting the vote by looking at other parties? Talked about that too many times. Let's not forget, though, that Tice wanted mandates for certain sectors during the global bad cough. And Farage wanted Tony Blair to be at the forefront of the arm-injected cough syrup rollout.
Yeah.
And yes, yeah, that's my immediate thoughts on it, Jeff.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a good comment here. We all do absolutely nothing. Well, some of us do go on these marches and do talk about these things, trying to bring them out to people's attention. But it is very difficult to do anything when the entire establishment doesn't want you to do anything. And that's the hard part.
Yeah.
No chance for Dawn Butler. Yeah. She is not going. I don't think she's going anywhere. Do you? Do you really think Keir Starmer is going to remove the whip from her? Somehow, I don't. So
No,
yeah.
of course
Oh, I
he's
like
not
this
going.
one. Love Jeff and Richard. You two are awesome. Well, we're awesome in our own thinking. That's very nice of you.
Goes without saying.
Oh, Jeff, you sound like me with your rotten cough. Yeah, yeah. It's not very nice, but we have to soldier on, don't we? I should have got my employer to let me off for. Oh, that's me, isn't it? Oh, dear. Yeah, and Richard wouldn't let me off either. He said you got to turn up. So there you go.
Yeah,
anyway, back to topic. Back to topic. This mass migration into this country is not going to stop. Labour have no intention of stopping it. The Tories had no intention of stopping it. If they wanted to stop it, it would have stopped. They just haven't got the stomach for it. And as I've said before, woke is always the easy way out. Because all you say is, oh, it's their human rights and we have to just let them in. Then they have to stay. And I've mentioned it before, the guy that threatened Nigel Farage from afar and then ended up on one of our beaches. He was arrested and taken in to custody. I don't know whether he's still there. But do you think he'll be going back to, was it Afghanistan? I don't think so. He's here, isn't he? Yeah. And you can't send him back to Afghanistan because it's too dangerous for him. It's too dangerous to Nigel Farage to keep him here, but that's a different matter entirely, isn't it? Anyway, yeah.
I mean, of course they don't want to stop the boats. You have to look at the course of travel for a long time now. That you've got two successive governments, both of them clearly desiring the same outcome. They don't want to stop the boats, okay? That's the first thing you have to understand. They don't want to stop them. So why do they want them to come? That's the ultimate question. And as far as I can see, there is an answer to that. More people coming to the country. What's going to happen? The black market explodes, crime goes up. Okay, so what do we do to solve that? Because a lot of these people, from what I can gather, are entering the country and they're going straight into the black market. Even people who enter the country legally are then going straight onto the black market.
Yeah.
How do you stop that, Jeff? Easy.
How do we stop the black market? Well, we stop buying things on the underground market. If we buy the stuff,
people aren't going to do that. There's too much of a demand. Yeah. So how do the government stop this situation? Very easy.
Yeah, central bank digital currency. Yeah, exactly. I understand that. Yeah.
And if that was which clearly has been their intention. I mean, wasn't it Rishi Sunak who mentioned the Brit coin?
Yes.
Some time ago, he was a strong advocate for it. This is what the globalists want. This isn't rocket science. It's not a conspiracy theory. They talk about it in Davos all the time.
Yeah.
That place, Davos, where Keir Starmer feels most at home.
Oh, he's most at home there, definitely. Yeah, he loves the WEF.
I think they're going to try and stop the boats. Yeah. This is just absolute lunacy. My question, like I said, remains. I want to know where Reform ultimately stand on all this, because they have distanced themselves too much now, as far as I'm concerned. They need to. I don't know what they're going to do, but if they're going to pull back those people they have peed off, they've got a lot of apologising to do, and possibly a few resignations and rearranging of the deck chairs.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether this sort of scuttlebutt coming out of it all is that there's machinations going on within Reform UK. And I don't know what to make of it. They're talking about a sort of a reshuffle or something, and things will be happening. But I don't know whether these things will be happening. It could be just people chuntering on like I am right now, not knowing exactly what's going on. But I think Reform really does have to take a backward step and think about what it's doing. Really has.
Yeah.
Yes. WEF instruction from Davos to Starmer. No borders, no nation state. Well, that's
Yeah,
exactly what this is all about. The
yeah.
destruction of nation states, open borders, so that when people get rich in one area of the world, all the poor people are able to move there quickly to benefit from that. That's what it's all about. Wherever you go with your money, with whatever heritage you have, whatever, you will be hunted down because people can move straight there to you. And it's a bit frightening, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What else have
Yeah,
we got here?
Reform are in Hope Not Hate's pocket. Yeah, I mean, they relied on Hope Not Hate to select their own candidates, if you remember, at the last election. As soon as there was a sniff from Hope Not Hate, oh, we don't like that guy, gone, you know.
Was it the last election? Was it the last election?
Yeah.
I think it might have been. Yeah, they have used them in the past. I believe it was used with UKIP as well. As I believe many moons ago.
Yeah, that was Gawain Towler said that. Yeah, so it's been done with these parties. So
what I will say about that though is it was quite interesting. Hope Not Hate didn't seem to be the aggressive creature that it is today back then, and
No.
it might have been a foolish move. I mean, for a long time I've known about Hope Not Hate, but if you're looking to weed out some pretty nasty characters, because there are pockets of people who are far right, and that you've got to weed them out. But I'm not trying to justify them using Hope Not Hate because I can't stand that organization for 1 second.
Yeah.
But desperate times, desperate measures. I don't know. Just food for thought there. Sorry, Jeff.
Yes. Reform got to man up. Yeah, I think they do. I really do. And one of the biggest mistakes they did was getting rid of Ben Habib, as I've said before many times. Not so much getting rid of him, but sidelining him. Silly mistake. Yeah. The man, he needs to be front and centre in UK politics. He stands head and shoulders above just about everybody in the House of Commons for a start. Not that that's particularly hard these days, I wouldn't think, but you get the idea. Morning, lads. They want to stop the deaths in the Channel, but do little about them here. Yes, that seems to sum it up, doesn't it? They seem to be intent on allowing people to come in here absolutely risk-free. In fact, I wouldn't put it past Starmer to come to the conclusion midway through his term, wring his hands at the next boat capsizing in the French side of the Channel and say, we're laying on the ferries to save lives. I can well and truly see that coming. And then it will become accepted practice and the courts will enforce it. And I can see that coming. They are not going to stop it. They're not going to stop it, ever.
I mean, you can see the same thing in America. Look what's happened under Biden in America. I mean, oh my goodness, how many millions of people have entered America now in a very short period of time illegally? It's phenomenal. This is a global situation. This is a globally coordinated move to destabilize countries. How do you destabilize? Mass immigration. Why would you want to destabilize countries? Oh, let me think. So you can bring in control, ultimate control. You will not have a single person on the black market working once that takes place. Once the central bank digital currencies are in place, where it can be decided what you spend your money on, how you spend it, where you spend it, when you spend it. Yeah.
No, it's that could happen eventually. Well, it probably will happen eventually because everything's going digital. But and then we'll miss being able just to go out and spend a couple of quid here and there on what we want, when everything we buy, absolutely everything, will have to be recorded somewhere digitally. And we'll soon get used to it. The control that will bring over us will be unbelievable.
Well, where have I heard of a system before where people aren't allowed to buy or sell unless they partake in a certain system? Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
The only time in history this has ever happened, incidentally.
Yes.
Where have I heard that before?
hate, not hope, is the correct name. Government funded to create a divisive atmosphere. Yeah, that's what gets me. All these things are so many of them are government funded. Lots of charities actually could not exist without government funding. They are actually government bodies in reality. So I sort of think that charities should stand on the charitable giving of people, and that means leaving people with enough money in their pockets so they can give to charitable causes that they really want to give to. I wonder how many
Well,
charities out there are relying on the government, and if you looked at them, you say, "Well, I don't want my money being spent on that," but they insist on doing it, don't they?
well, we have
Yeah,
a late friend of ours actually used to, God rest his soul, Mark Wadsworth
yeah.
used to run a blog, and quite regularly on his blog he would do, was it fake charity of the day or fake charity of the week?
That's right. I remember that. It was quite a few
Yeah,
years ago. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not government funded, taxpayer funded. Yeah, absolutely. I stand corrected. When I say government funded, I do mean taxpayer funded, because the
Yeah.
government has no money of its own. It has
Oh
to
yeah,
borrow
yeah,
money against the ability of the people to pay it back. And at the
yeah,
moment, I don't know whether you know this, but the government is borrowing so much money that the interest, the money that it can get for the bonds is decreasing. That means the yield is going up. That means the interest rate is going up for future borrowing. That means
yes,
we're going to have to pay a lot more for the money we've already borrowed when we roll it all over, because a lot of these bonds have to be rolled over after 5, 10, or 20 years. By then,
yeah,
the interest rate will be much heavier. Then we have to borrow more. It's just, this is a snowball that's beginning to go out of control. I think it went up by a whole percentage point, effectively, behind the
yeah.
scenes, all
They're
run by what
leveraging
they
our
call the
future.
bond vigilantes.
Yeah, they're leveraging our future and the future of our children, which absolutely annoys me. What
Yeah,
people, children who are unborn yet,
yeah.
they're going to be paying for this. But I
Oh,
mean, I
yes.
can't see this continuing. I think at some point there's going to be default. But this is going to be again, it works to the same place. This is all part of the same thing. I don't care how conspiratorial this sounds. We have been, Jeff, you and I have been working together for how many years? 16 years now.
Yeah, something like that.
And
Yeah.
we have, over the years, we used to hear people saying, "Oh, this is just a conspiracy theory," about the collapsing, the deliberate collapse of society and the banking system and the financial institutions. We heard that so many years ago, and
Yeah.
now we're starting to see this all come about, and it's like, oh my goodness, those people back in the day,
Yeah.
Malcolm
I mean,
Treacher,
here's a
perhaps he
good
was right.
comment. Is a good comment from Riptide. US is above 35 trillion in debt and counting. Yes, and
Mm,
every single year they have to go to their to their politicians, their representatives, congressmen, and say to them, you now have to vote to increase the debt ceiling. Because in America, they have a statutory debt ceiling. They're not allowed to borrow more than that debt ceiling. The trouble is that every year they overspend and they get to the point in about October, November, about now, when they suddenly turn around and say, we got no money left to pay the wages for Christmas. We need to up the debt ceiling. So they just keep upping the debt ceiling. I think they actually did it earlier in the year this year, so that they can just borrow more, just keep borrowing more. And the whole idea is that you can keep borrowing more because at the end of the day, if you can't repay your debts, you just print loads of money, let inflation rip, and you just pay it back, and the inflation sort of washes the debt down, if you see what I mean. So then that's what they rely on, this whole concept. Doesn't help us, though. And what are they spending all this money on? Well, it's not on
well,
the people of the US or the people of the UK. In this country, our debt is what, 2 point something trillion quid? It's ridiculous. And
hasn't
it's all going to
Rachel
be
Reeves?
wasted.
Well, hasn't Rachel Reeves just said she wants to increase the borrowing capacity?
Yeah, she fiddled the numbers so that, or the procedures, so she could borrow another 50 billion quid. That's all got to be paid for. The trouble is, though, that when they sell these bonds onto the market, people aren't paying so much for them as they need. So they have to issue more bonds at effectively a higher interest rate. This is not going to end well.
No, it's all going to pop eventually, and that's it. And what will that mean for pension companies? What will that mean for, oh my goodness, insurance companies?
Especially as when we went through the last credit crunch, the government said you must hold a certain amount of grade A debt or whatever it is, grade A stuff like gilts, government bonds, gilts, hold them, and you must hold a certain proportion of them. So now the pension companies are basically being forced to buy these things. Ridiculous. Here's a good comment. The debt ceiling used to be like a bungalow. Now it is a skyscraper. That's going to tumble at some stage. The hard work has to be done now in the West, in the UK. I don't care about the rest of them, although if them going down would be a right royal Horlicks for the rest of us. We need to start paying this ruddy debt down. Otherwise, we're going to be caught in a perfect storm. And I don't see Labour doing that. No, they've got grand plans for your money.
Good comment here. Feel sorry for the farmers. Sorry, Jeff. From Rosemary. I totally agree. Starmer wants to basically get every penny he can from the farmers. At the same time, Jeff, we were saying the other day that this is basically going to be a land grab from farmers to build new houses on potentially. Making us more reliant on importing our food, selling what farmland we have left to persons who, such as, I don't know, maybe something like Bill Gates. Why would I say Bill Gates? Why would I say that? Oh, funny enough, though, Bill Gates isn't he the largest landowner in America at the moment?
No, I'm not sure about that one. There's lots of rumors going about by that, but I have seen that one debunked. But he has got a lot of farmland, according to reports. Now, as you say, the whole idea of Labour is to rip into our wages and into our savings. They've already said that the wages in the private sector will be hung back. They'll have an anchor around them because of the national insurance contribution going up for employers. That's what's going to happen. Then they're coming after savings, i.e. pensions. And James Dyson had a bit of a go at them in the Times. And blasts Rachel Reeves's spiteful budget. And he thinks, as far as he's concerned, that the whole thing is going to come apart and it's going to blow the economy apart because it's not just farmers can't pass businesses on. No one can pass businesses on now to their children. So you're not going to have a new Google growing and growing and growing because once the owner dies, poof, he's gone. They have to go and become public. They can't be a family firm. They have to get all the trappings of corporations and all this so that the government can take charge of them basically through the law and use law to decide how they run. No, there'll be no more entrepreneurs while Labour's in charge. That won't happen. So, I do get a little bit sort of depressed by all this. And these, believe it or not, these are the gangs that Labour wants to smash. The gangs of successful people. They do not like success. They do not like personal aspiration. That is evil. The only thing they want is that you aspire that the communist system they want gets more and more powerful and soaks up all the money, and that you just take out the little bit that they let you have. They're going to be destroying family businesses, and then they'll move on to controlling the corporations that buy up the remnants of those businesses bit by bit by bit. It's all going to be a corporate government takeover, which is exactly what they want, because passing on a family business is so unsocialist. Do you know, the only growth industries we're going to see is immigration at all levels, as outlined earlier. The size of the state will grow immensely. And they will make it grow because as people made redundant out of the private sector, the state will have to soak them up to pay them a wage so they can keep functioning as a GDP addition.
Yeah.
They want to see tax going through the roof. They want to see government spending go through the roof. They want to see government borrowing going through the roof. And lastly, and mostly importantly, it's going to see a growth in national misery. What a bunch of total W's. Can't say it.
Now, there's a great comment here, from Mons. Watching all you YouTubers is getting us nowhere. I disagree, actually, because a lot of the, we'll call it new media, I don't know if we can categorize ourselves as that, Jeff, but a lot of us try and put across something that everybody, I think, needs to see right now, and that is reframing. You're being bombarded by the news continuously, by the mainstream media, okay? And it's giving you a framing, a version of events framed specifically geared towards the desired outcome of the establishment. What we are giving you is another viewpoint, hopefully a correct reframing. So no, I think watching YouTubers is a little bit essential. Not just YouTube though, with TikTokers and what are they called? X as well, Twitter. Yeah, it's all worth keeping yourselves engaged in. Keep your finger on the pulse, people, because if you're just going to sit there and read the papers without having a point of reference to reframe all this, you're going to be lost. You're going to be buying it all. That's why so many people, and I don't blame any of them. My own wife took 2 of the medical interventions before I met her, unfortunately. And I wish I'd have been around earlier to stop that from happening. I really do. Because she listened to what the media was telling her, that it was safe and effective, and she went along with it. And I've had family members who have, let's just say, had very, very bad reactions. And I know somebody who has also died as a result of possibly of something, but that's another matter I can't really go into on here.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It says Labour in taxing businesses more will drive them abroad. So next result is less income in tax. Yeah, the thing is that this is going on a lot in Europe as well, in the European Union. The European Union is one of the drivers for Labour behind this. They want businesses not to be making money, but the businesses will more and more be seen as a vehicle for making workers happy. Making workers happy and well paid. Sounds wonderful, but if a business isn't, its main driver is not making a profit, then it's going to go nowhere. If its only aim is to make workers happy and well paid, it's going to die, and they're just going to collapse under their own weight. Businesses, in fact, they do at the moment, as I understand it, still have a fiduciary duty to make a profit for the shareholders. That's the whole point. You have to make a profit for the shareholders. Now, if they do a good job of that and the shareholders get well remunerated for investing, then they're doing a good job. But as soon as they turn around and say, well, you can't do that, who's going to invest in a company? Who's going to put their money into a company to even get it started if they can't take the money out, if that money has to be redirected to make workers happy and extremely well paid? That's the question. Everybody's just assuming if you treat all your workers well and give them lots of money and give them lots of time off, then their productivity will increase. Well, from what I've seen so far, that hasn't really happened, has it, over the last few years? A lot of people are going to argue with me, the lefties, oh, yes, it does, it always works, but I'm not so sure. You've got to pay a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. You got to get out of them what you pay them, at least. Anyway, there you go.
I think people should be more self-sufficient, I do. And I'm not talking about everyone just going and growing their own food, but it's not a bad idea. The thing is, years ago, that's what people did.
Yeah.
And I'm going way back here before the Enclosures Act and before people were driven off the land by large landowners for commercial farming, industrial farming, the first aspect of what you call industrial farming, especially in Scotland. They had it really bad. They really did with the clearances. Absolutely hideous what happened there. But ultimately, Why is it, do you think, people like to go away to a little quiet cottage, say in the Brecon Beacons, where I live, or anywhere where there's a nice bit of greenery? Why do people do it? It's an instinctive thing. People like the quiet. People like a log fire and to walk into a little local pub filled with people. And,
Yeah.
you know,
I enjoy that bit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, I know with you.
Thanks.
No,
Yeah.
This is what people want. And that lifestyle was ended generations ago. This is how people used to live. They used to have a patch of land which they tended themselves. It would hopefully provide food for themselves and their family that they could then sell on. Now, granted, there was a lot of poverty around then as well. But you've got to weigh all this up. We're living these long lives hoping to get to retirement. And at the end of it, we're too sick to enjoy it. We don't actually live a life. Is it better to have that certain level of poverty? I mean, I watched, sorry, just to digress, like I watched a few documentaries on people who lived in the in the Great Depression, in America. And they said, oh, we were poor. We were very poor, but we always had food. And I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not saying that was always the case, but I'm talking about the rural areas now. Sorry, during the Great Depression, they always had food in the rural areas. They were able to produce their own food, and that's something that we're missing. Sorry to go on about this, but I don't think there's anything wrong with talking about being self-sufficient, because these leaders, they always go on about, these globalists, they go on about net zero, they go on about climate change and trying to stop it and what they have to do to do it to achieve it. Yet we are importing stuff from all over the world here. Why aren't we out in our back gardens and why don't we have this amount of land at our disposal? And you could say, well, maybe that's what Labour's trying to do. No, if only that was one of the reasons they were looking to break up large estates is what they should be doing. Large estates is not the same thing as an intergenerational family farm. Large estates could be owned by Sir or Lord, whatever, who's about as inbred as the king himself. Yeah.
Yeah, I get the picture. But, I mean, the allotments were made, were provided, and they're still available. And people, I mean, I remember my father, digging up the potatoes and the carrots, and we grew strawberries in the back garden and all that sort of thing. But we had a largish garden, quite, sort of very lucky in that respect. So we ate some home-produced food, which kept the costs down. But I'm not sure that most people in modern Britain have the wherewithal to do that, because most people are being driven into the cities, aren't they, with their jobs, and they only come out of the cities when they retire,
But that's my point exactly. It's only since the Industrial Revolution and the industrialization, or mass industrialization of the nation, of the country, of the world, that we are starting to see flats, become more commonplace, and smaller houses with smaller back gardens. People were living on the land. They lived in small holdings. Everywhere was a small holding. The concept of a terraced street, other than in certain towns, didn't exist.
Yeah. Hi from New Zealand, says Matt Carlin. Well, hi to you too. Great to see. And costs you to even have your own chickens now. So will they charge you for growing your own food? Well, to be absolutely honest, I think that's what we'll see a move towards when they go towards factory-produced foods.
Yeah,
we'll be told how pure factory and clean and germ-free factory-produced foods are, and that they're much more wonderful, great for net zero. We must all have one of these fake meat burger things made from with a grasshopper bread bun around it. You get the idea.
Delicious.
That's where we're going.
Yeah, you'll have a chicken tax. Yeah, we'll have a chicken tax.
Yeah, and you'll have to have a license to grow your own food. You'll have to go on a course or something. You can't just let a carrot grow like it does normally, dig it out of the ground, scrape the dirt off, chop it up and bung it in the old pot. Oh, no, that's going to be specially licensed thing, that will be in future. just in
Yeah.
case one speck of dirt from the ground finds its way into the pot and someone gets something. Oh, it's going to be ridiculous. You can see it coming a mile away.
Yeah, cannibalism will be legalized probably under this lot.
Soylent Green, yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's like just what I was thinking.
Yeah. Yes. Anyway, back to sort of point. At the end of the day, I don't think Labour is going to change anything. I don't think Keir Starmer's going to change anything with net zero. Oh, sorry, with immigration or net zero for that matter. So I think we've just got more of the same. And I will be absolutely astounded if the numbers even start to look like they're going to be going down. Now, one of the things I think they will do is start ratcheting back a bit on legal migration, or making it look like they're ratcheting back on legal migration. But even that will be deemed as racist by the usual suspects, who will insist that the numbers remain high. The courts will be full of claims that I want to bring this person and that person in. The courts will uphold it. We're not going to leave the ECHR. We're not going to change the Human Rights Act. They will still be weaponized against the taxpayer and against our heritage and against us. That's how it's all going to pan out unless we vote differently. Vote for someone else in next May's local election. Start there. Send the message. No more Labour, no more Tories, no more Greens, no more Lib Dems. Get rid of them because they are all the same.
Yeah, there needs to be a unification here of the centre-right, we'll call it the right, not only the centre-right, the right. What's wrong with being right-wing or left?
Nothing.
The left-wing are proud of it. No, I can't say that. Well, I don't identify as right-wing or left-wing. I don't know what works.
Yeah.
We have to think within these terms all the time. You know, it's like now we have to move to the right. We are proud to be right. Okay, whatever. But I'm not so sure. How many of you lot? Here's a question for you lot, right? How many of you lot believe that Keir Starmer will last another 6 months in power? Let's have a little look in the comment section, because I'm not so convinced. And I have heard rumours, and I can't remember who it was, also mentioned on Talk TV. It might have been Kevin O'Sullivan. I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I might be wrong there. That he had heard rumours as well that Starmer is very unhappy about the criticism that he is under and that he might be stepping down. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally think he's too narcissistic and too thick-skinned.
Yes, and Richard, be careful. You just refer to our viewers as you lot. What do you lot? Isn't that?
Yeah, what do you lot? You Tommy Robinson lot.
Now,
Very
someone
good
else,
point. Well
someone
done for
else
picking that
called
one.
certain people you lot, didn't they? Just a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Like, you lot. Yes. Oh, I can smell you from here, you lot.
Yeah. Sorry. Pound is on the floor. Yeah. The pound is on the floor. It's quite funny. I looked at the pound. The pound is has gone down since the budget. The FTSE 100 has gone down since the budget. And the important one, the FTSE 250, which is the best sort of measure on a stock market of the health of the nation, also went down by about 2%. So it sort of gives you a guide as to how investors and the people with the money are viewing what's going on with this country. So just bear that in mind. I'm sure we'll recover, because there's one thing about Brits. What we do is we knuckle down, get round it more generally, and move on. But we're all going to end up paying more tax. It's going to be a massive drag. And when that tax is misspent, it acts as a big drag anyway. It's going to be misspent. All tax money, just about all of it, is misspent. They overbid, overpay, and all the rest of it because it's not their money. If you turn round to the government and told them that they must produce the following services and anything left they can keep in their own pockets, they would make sure those services were provided as cheaply as possible, as well as possible, and productively as possible, so they could keep as much as possible in their own pockets.
How about another way of dealing with it? It's very similar, I suppose, but I mean, how about, so if the government and all ministers back and approve an increase in public sector spending on certain areas by, say, 5 or 10%, they must then take a 5 to 10% reduction in their own pay. How about that one? Let's see how much they increase spending by then.
Yes, I get the idea. At the end of the day, they write the laws. There's nothing much we can really do about it. They can come in and promise to do something and then not do it, rewrite the laws like they have with that 50 billion extra spending, that extra borrowing that Rachel Reeves can now get her hands on. They change the rules. That's all they do, is they just get in and change the rules. And
when you think about
they stop things.
When you think about it, though, if we were to have a truly fair system, one where people would actually have total and utter respect for the Prime Minister should be the poorest person in the country, should voluntarily go in and say, I now release all my assets to the nation, I will be the poorest person. So they would then ensure that they had a roof over their heads. And that means by a de facto situation that other people, such as the our soldiers, our veterans who are sleeping on the streets. Now, he came out and said he's going to house every veteran. I'm like, oh, right, okay. How are you going to do that then? Have we seen anything else other than that rhetoric come out? I haven't heard anything else. This was all just, bluster for the party conference and to try and undo some of the damage that had been done by his own decisions.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, actually, the best way of doing it is to tie MPs and Lords' remuneration to GDP per capita. If GDP per capita, GDP per capita is a sort of a measure of how wealthy each individual is within a nation. It's a bit rough and ready, it's a bit general, but it is a sort of good measure. Our GDP per capita has been either stagnating and staying the same or not falling, but gradually declining over the last few years. And as we bring more people in, the claim is we bring loads of people in, it'll boost GDP. Yes, it does. It boosts GDP because people have to spend more on the new people. And that's how GDP is boosted. The trouble is that when you divide the GDP by the number of people in the country, it's going down all the time, which is not a good sign, especially when you look at America where it's going up. So if we want to get our politicians to think about GDP per capita, tie their wages directly to it so that every year GDP per capita goes down, they get a pay cut. And every year it goes up, they get a pay rise. But do you know what they'd do? They would fudge the rules on how GDP per capita is measured. That's how they'd get round it. They will always get round it to give themselves nice little bumper pay rises somehow. But I think that something like that has to be done. They, like company directors, they should be viewed as company directors, and they get remunerated on the success of the company. And that's how it should be, because they're failing us left, right, and ruddy Chelsea.
Well, none of them have worked. I've worked in business, I don't believe. I'm not sure about the entire cabinet at the moment, but I don't think Rachel Reeves has, or Keir Starmer. They've run organizations.
He was the son of a toolmaker.
Oh, yes. And his father made a fine tool indeed.
He did indeed, yes. Anyway, I think we've been here long enough. And
yes, but one thing, Jeff.
Oh, go on.
One thing. If you're watching this now, could you do us a favor? We've got a little like button there. If you could just do the thumbs up on that. And also, more importantly, could you subscribe, please? Because most people who watch YouTube videos, it's well known, are not subscribers. Please I know it's so difficult, just hover your finger over that subscribe button and press it. And then you see the bell and you click the all option. Yeah. That's going to help us massively so we can keep coming back and keep giving you this kind of stuff. Yeah. Please do like and subscribe.
Here's some I've just got a little bit of breaking news for you, which I've seen come up. I keep my eye on the news as it's going on. David Lammy has ruled out a transfer of cash to countries demanding slavery reparations. He's ruled it out. Now, that's a surprise to me. I thought he'd be all for it.
Yes.
We'll have to keep our eye on this one.
Yeah, but doesn't that play into what Starmer said? Didn't Starmer said that he was going to potentially rule out or wasn't interested in cash reparations. However, there may be some other form of reparations. Maybe, who knows? I mean, who knows? Signing away more land. Goodness knows.
Funny you should say that.
Yeah.
Because the Telegraph says, Foreign Secretary says the focus on money was overly simplistic and it would not be appropriate during a cost of living crisis. The focus on money. So what's he going to send them? Whatever gold we've got left, maybe?
Yeah.
Yes, well, anyway, that piece of breaking news there. With that, thank you very, very much for taking part and watching and commenting. It's been great fun. And we'll see you at the next one, or I'll probably put out a video later tonight if I feel up to it. I still feel very rough, but we're doing our best over here.
Wimp!
Wimp, shut up. So I'll say it's goodbye from me.
Aye, and it's goodbye from him.